Yes, sir, we're back. We back again. Clocking out late, but for those of y'all who stayed at your desk after hours, gather around me because there's plenty to be detoxified right here. I truly appreciate every single one of you who decided to stick around to listen to me talk about what is really going on in this country when y'all could easily be heading straight home right now, relaxing, putting your feet up, and enjoying yourselves. But you are here, and you are sticking around for this. Look, this is not going to be a lengthy video tonight. It's not going to be a long one, y'all, but you need to see this, and you need to see it for yourself. Whew! Tonight, we are putting the master architects under a complete forensic inspection. The Republicans are gaining massive ground nationwide, while the Democrats are completely losing their grip on reality. They are being fully exposed for the absolute disrespect and betrayal in how they treat their own loyal voters. Tonight, we are going deep into the tape, the exact words the Democrats say, the reckless policies they push, and how they are in a frantic, unhinged rush to completely destroy their own chances in this upcoming midterm election. We are pulling back the curtain on what the person on the street is actually saying, the real deal that people are not only feeling in their pockets, but are openly talking about. Folks are seeing this game for exactly what it is, a massive game being played right in front of our eyes by the politicians and bureaucrats in power. So make sure you watch to the very end for the absolute kicker, because it doesn't take much, and by the time I get to it, I am completely convinced that every single one of you listening to Political Detox tonight will see the full geometry. You'll understand not just that they are losing, but the exact madness of what they are doing to cause it, to the point where you have to look at the board and ask yourself, are these people doing this on purpose?
And with midterms less than 8 months away, new financial disclosure forms show the Republican National Committee has nearly a 7-to-1 money advantage over the National Democratic Committee.
A CBS News exclusive, the GOP rakes in big money ahead of the crucial 2026 midterms. The fundraising arm of the Republican National Committee brought in $47.1 million in the first 3 months of this year alone.
Republicans also had more cash on hand into March, nearly $110 million. Democrats roughly $16 million on hand. It's less than its outstanding debt of more than $17 million. Reports were filed with the Federal Election Commission. It shows the RNC outraised the DNC by a wide margin last month, $18.5 million to little over $10 million.
The midterms are looking like a total collapse for the Democrats, and the Republican stack of cash tells the whole story. While the left is bleeding dry, the Republicans are sitting on a historic pile of money. We ain't talking about no small dollar hype or some fake internet donation drive here. We are talking about a total financial wall that lets the GOP play offense anywhere they want, while the Democrats are begging for pennies just to keep the lights on in their own backyards.
Political analysts are here as well. Host of the Bulwark podcast, Tim Miller, and former executive director of the New York State Democratic Party, Basil Smikle. So, Teddy, tell us about all this money.
Sure, it's a good time to be a Republican outside group. There's a pretty significant advantage that Republican committees that are raising money for the Senate and the House candidates have over their Democratic counterparts. Also, the Republican National Committee has about a $120 million advantage over the Democratic National Committee. Now, money isn't everything here, and Democratic candidates historically have done better at raising money than Republican candidates.
See, that right there is what happens when the money dries up completely. Man, listen, for real, the talking heads on the cable news networks love to push their standard talking points, telling y'all everything is fine and acting like wishful thinking wins elections. But these media puppets are getting paid to look at fake phone polls instead of looking at the real world.
So what is this about? Is it about a rejection of Democrats, which clearly, if you look at individuals, it's not, or is it a rejection of what people see as the Democratic power structure, which clearly they weren't so happy about after the last campaign?
Well, I think it's two things. You'll see a lot of the big money being spent in some of those marquee races like Tallarico or Ossoff, for example. But I think Democrats have a different theory of their political mobilization. A lot of small dollar donors to actually take advantage of the anti-Trump enthusiasm that is on the left. However, they've got another path that they actually have to be mindful of. How do they cobble together a new Democratic political coalition, because yes, Democrats are very engaged, but there are also a lot of independents who seem to be leaving
here's
Donald
my
Trump.
question.
Yeah.
Why is the DNC so far behind the RNC?
Well, that's why I say I think it's a different political theory of mobilization, that historically there has been a reliance on big donors. There have also been a reliance on very expensive consultants. But the energy of the party right now is very different. It is focused on a lot of small dollar donations. Bernie Sanders did that. Mamdani in some of these smaller races around the country, Mamdani's example, he's done that. So there's been this movement away from big donors. He's done that. So there's been this movement away from big donors and big money PACs because they want to get the corporate influence out of it. Well, I think a lot of the younger, more progressive voters. And the reality is...
So they're giving to individuals as opposed to, say, something that either the DNC or some organization they see as representing big D Democratic.
It's a movement away from the, quote, institution and the establishment.
Okay.
Are they kidding me? They are desperately trying to hide the fact that their entire system is cracking at the foundation because they can't afford the repairs. They want to talk about momentum, but you can't pay a field organizer with vibes. You need cold, hard cash, and the establishment is officially tapped out. Whew! The real panic is the massive drop in voter registration across the board. You can fake a poll, you can manipulate a sample size, but you can't fake a state document. Since 2020, the Republicans have flipped over 1 million physical voters who walked right into local clerk offices, tore up their Democratic cards like they were junk mail, and signed on the dotted line with the GOP. Ha! Now that is something y'all can't spin away. When the person on the street physically goes and changes their color on the map, the master architects have lost the room. Behind closed doors, the Democrats face massive cash shortages that are completely paralyzing their ground game. They drowning in heavy debt, burning through what they have left at lightning speed, and forcing their own local candidates to fend for themselves like they're on a reality show. For real? You mean to tell me their own party can't even bail them out? That's what happens when you spend 4 years ignoring the neighborhood. And here's the kicker. Look at how deep this hole actually goes. If that don't tell y'all the whole story, nothing will. This whole disaster is about to come to a head when you look at those 28 key battleground districts that actually decide who runs the country. In nearly every single one of these critical zones, the voter registration situation flipped almost entirely in favor of the GOP.
I wonder, when you look at these numbers, what can money buy and what can't it?
Yeah, it's a good question because I think you'll be shocked to hear this, Chris, as an ex-political consultant. I think that a lot of political consultants and TV ad men overstate the value of these big money super PACs. A lot of guys are going to be getting beach houses thanks to, particularly on the Republican ad side, thanks to all the money going into these super PACs. The one thing that I think it can do, and where this is going to be really important, where the Republicans have raised a lot of money, is they can go into the red states where the Democrats are looking to get pickups and really smear and attack their Democratic opponents and make them seem out of step with, you know, the values of Republican voters in red states. The Democrats, just frankly, to win the Senate, are going to have to win in Iowa, Ohio, Florida, Texas, someplace like that, where Donald Trump won a lot. And you're going to have to win over some Trump voters, some conservative voters, some MAGA voters. And I think the Republicans have spent a lot of money convincing those voters that those Democrats like Tallarico are too extreme, too on the left. And I think that may work in the context of those red states.
Hold up. Stop right there. If you see the cash collapse for what it is, the end of the DN scene, I need you to hit that subscribe button right now. We are pushing for that 400 subscriber milestone, and we need every truth seeker to lock in. Stick around for the next part, because what we see about the biological reality of this collapse will blow your mind. You don't want to miss the final take on the Cinderella scheme falling apart.
So, Teddy, you have said the Republican Party shouldn't get too excited about having more cash, but I wonder, as you were doing this deep dive into where the money is, was there one big takeaway that you had in terms of what this might mean for the midterms and beyond?
Sure. I mean, I think we're right now talking about the party committees and the super PACs. I think, the super PACs align with the House and Senate leadership. I think the X factor here is basically the $230 million that is stockpiled in super PACs supported by the crypto and AI industries, which are probably also going to have a Republican lean, at least to their spending. So these are kind of, not traditional players in midterms or in presidential cycles, but the crypto and AI industries have decided they really care a lot about politics. They really want to get their people in. And I think that's going to even further bolster kind of the conservative movement this cycle. So, and going forward, they could do it again, 2028, 2030, 2032, depending on how things go this November. So, look, there's a lot of wealthy billionaires who are conservative, and they seem to be mobilizing first or more aggressively than kind of the wealthy billionaires who are liberal.
Let's get back into the numbers. At the end of the day, your bills are due, but your pockets are completely broken. And that's why the Democrats are trapped in a total cash crunch with no chance of a way out without going deeper into debt. They are finding out that you can't run a campaign on pronouns and excuses when people can't afford gas. It proves that the money has stopped moving for them, while the working class has completely checked out. The absolute irrelevance of the Democratic Party is showing out in real time because they traded working class reality for pure cultural policing.
Divergence of opinions around what makes the party brand toxic right now, and understanding what were at the root causes of that kind of erosion with working class voters, the erosion of faith in our party, is really important.
So how do you understand it? What is it?
I mean, I think the issue is that too often it's not clear who we're fighting for or who we're fighting against. We can't prosecute a case against corruption if we have corruption in our own ranks. We can't run against greedy corporations when those same greedy corporations are funding our campaigns. And we can't speak with moral clarity on issues when I think what you saw in Gaza and the way the Harris and Biden administration talks around that and the way that kind of sunk the campaign. And all of those, I think, are realities that are probably reflected in that autopsy.
They built an entire system based on total confusion, telling working folks that gender is fluid and boundaries don't exist. Whew! Look at the tape. They are actively trying to push a radical gay and transvestite agenda onto the heart of America, completely attacking the Judeo-Christian philosophy that this country was founded upon.
I had a gay professor in college at a time when openly gay folks still weren't out of line, who became one of my favorite professors and was a great guy and would call me out when I started saying stuff that was ignorant. You need that to show empathy and kindness. And by the way, you need that person in your friend group so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in this.
Cocaine. I know where to get it. What happens next?
We get back in the limo. The driver takes us wherever it is that Barack had instructed him to take us. I had given Barack $250 to pay for coke. He gets out, comes back. I start putting a line on a CD tray to snort.
And you're
in the limo. Yep.
Driving or parked?
No, the driver's driving.
Yep.
I start to put a line on a CD tray, and I just happen to notice that he pulls something else out of his pocket. And next thing I know, he's got a little pipe and he's smoking. So I don't have an issue with it. I mean, some people smoke, some people snort.
Smoking the cocaine?
Yes. So as I'm doing a line, I just start, this is the part where you kind of make your move to see where things are going.
So you feel like a victim?
I'm a victim. I'm a victim of white supremacy.
And so are they holding you back financially?
Well, they can.
You cannot run a society on zero standards while ignoring the actual price of eggs and fuel. This complete detachment from logic and morality has caused a historic drop among core working class men who are looking at these fake phone polls and completely logging out. The mainstream media pumps out wishful numbers, but the actual voter registration books show a brutal reality. The neighborhood has abandoned the hustle. Now think of this, y'all. If the Democrats really believed in God, then they would know that they can't defeat him. When you set up a system based on erasing basic biology and shredding our foundational faith, you are trying to rewrite a design that is already set in stone. Ha! God gives people a window to wake up, but the clock is ticking. Look at the board. The political geometry is changed, the money has dried up, and the entire structure is cracking. These politicians think they are the gods of their own little world, drawing lines on maps and manufacturing outrage, but they forgot the people at the bottom. They forgot the guy in the blue jeans who is tired of being lectured by a man in a $3,000 suit. They are panicking because the nice era of national integrity and clean enforcement is finally coming for their ledger books. Ha! They thought they could bury the truth under a mountain of debt, but the mountain just fell on them.
So the Democratic Party is having to deal with its own bullcrap, deal with its own stupidity. They have to deal with the fact that they've had trans men at the White House, men that call themselves women, women that call themselves men, and now that everybody's confused about what, everybody on their side is confused about what men and women are, and when people over here basically mirror this confusion, they want to feel some type of way. This is going to get worse. This is not going to get better. I think that America's at a tipping point, and history is going to look back at this time and look at it like we looked at slavery. It's a time of just insanity. And we're going to look back on this and say, how could America have been so stupid and so idiotic to even believe that there wasn't any definition to life? There was no definition to male and female. There was no definition to right and wrong. There wasn't a definition to marriage. This is what the Democratic Party has wrought. And then when you make them face their own reality, they have to get angry. They said you can identify as a man or a woman, but if a white person tries to identify as black, they want to get angry. They want to say they want a colorblind society, but then when they try to take these majority black districts that are segregated and say, okay, we're going to integrate these districts, they get angry. They say they want a colorblind society, but then when you try to say, we're not going to do DEI and affirmative action any longer, we're going to make you live on your merits, they get angry. They try to use their own population as cannon fodder for their power. So these young men who've survived the Democratic Party's plan to abort them in their mother's womb, and then they survive after they're born, they survive the fact that they have paid the mothers to get rid of their fathers. And then they survive that and they send them to a public educational system that will not educate them. And when they survive that, they send them out on the streets as teens that get killed or murdered or addicted to drugs. And they survive that, they get out of high school as scholar athletes with scholarships to go to college, to go to the SEC, the greatest football laboratory in America, where your odds of going pro and becoming a millionaire becomes astronomical. And if not that, you get a good 4-year degree, at least. And they say, we want you to thwart all of that to try to force the Supreme Court to rescind its order on redistricting, or force state legislatures to not redraw our districts. Yeah, for them. They want these young men to destroy their whole careers. Why? So they can keep implementing the same laws that almost destroyed them.
Now look up above right now, because there is a video waiting for you on the screen that takes this exact exposure to the next level. If you think this cash collapse is wild, you need to click that video right now to see how they're using our federal tax dollars to fund this exact cultural destruction. The continuity is flowing, the receipts are laid out, and the algorithm is ready. Click that video right now. Don't let the mainstream guide your vision, and keep yourself locked in to the real world. The Dems are panicking, and it's a beautiful, beautiful sight to see.